We got three things on the docket today because things happen in three. You got the Phillies take 2 of 3 against the Chicago White Sox. You got game 3 preview for the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Eagles may have signed their new wide receiver 3 yesterday, given Howie props there. All that, more, whatever you want to talk about right here, trending in the AM. It starts in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We are live here, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. I don't know, my man. I'm just a spoke in the wheel, my man. I just work for this network. You would have to reach out to them on that. I cannot answer that question for you. Anyway, I'm your host, Phil Stifel. Right here, make sure you like, you subscribe, you turn the notifications on, drop your comments, questions, thoughts. Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, all on the agenda today. So make sure you sit back, you relax, you drop your questions, your thoughts, and help get interactive with the show today because that's what today's show needs. Lots of interaction. Like I said, we got the Phillies. They just completed a 2 out of 3 game victory over the White Sox. The Sixers about to take on the Brooklyn Nets tonight in game 3, and the Eagles add a wide receiver. So we're going to talk all three things throughout the day. I'll answer your questions, your thoughts. But let's start with the Eagles because we spent a lot of time this week talking Eagles. Draft is next week. We're getting closer. Actually, a week from today is the NFL draft. And the Eagles made a move yesterday in filling one of their voids. Not the most important void on this team, but a void that was on this team, which was the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. We lost Zach Pascal in free agency. Quez Watkins has come under a lot of fire under this team and the fan base wanting to, we need to upgrade that position. We've all agreed that Quez has not turned into wide receiver 3 that we've been sold that he is. So Howie Roseman yesterday, and I'm going to butcher it. I know it. I'm not sure. I'm sure everybody's butchered it on their shows today. Olamide Zaccheaus, OZ. We're just going to call him the OZ. OZ, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. He's 25 years old. He's been in the league for 4 years. Actually had a pretty decent year last year, stepping in as the wide receiver 2 after injuries and whatnot plagued that team. Who is OZ? Zaccheaus? I don't know. Olamide Zaccheaus? I got to learn this name. I'll figure it out in the next day or two. But we'll just say the OZ. We're just going to call him OZ for now. Who is he? Well, like I said, he's small, 5'9", 4 years in the league. He is, in my opinion, exactly what the Eagles expected and wanted Quez Watkins to be. He is that fast speed receiver. I've seen all his numbers. They're floating around out there. His combine, his 40-40 numbers. He's a speed demon. He's smaller, but he's the guy to take the top off of defenses. 4 years in the league, every single year, he's had at least he's had a catch of 45 to 93 yards every single year as his long. So he's a big-time, over-the-top, deep threat, which is something that Quez Watkins, even though Nick Sirianni has tried to sell us that they're high on Quez Watkins, they still there's things that Quez does. It doesn't show up in the box score. I don't believe it as much, and I don't think the Eagles even believe that. Now, some people are saying the OZ here, he's being brought in to be a replacement for Zach Pascal. I don't think so. Zach Pascal was a blocking wide receiver that had, 12 catches last year? Played majority of his time on special teams and in blocking spots as a wide receiver. I was looking at OZ. He hasn't even returned a kick or punt since 2021, and it was 4 of them. He's not a special teams player. He's a guy that's going to go out there. He's going to be your number 3 wide receiver. He's going to be guy in the slot or on the outside with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the slot. He is going to be a guy that is brought in here to stretch the field, to have Jalen Hurts throw that deep route over the middle to step in if somebody gets injured. I mean, you got to think about it. He started quite a bit of games last year. I mean, he's not a guy he's not Zach Pascal like 10 receptions. He had 40 catches for over 500 yards. In his 4 years, he's got 8 touchdowns. He has a decent catch percentage. The thing I noticed that I thought was really great, last year out of his 40 catches, 25 of them were for first downs. So this guy is a guy that's going to come in here and have an immediate role. Whether he takes over the quote-unquote number 3 role from Quez Watkins, we'll see how that happens and what happens during training camp. But another thing to think about with this signing is that we also have Marcus Mariota as our number 2 quarterback now. So there's already a connection between Mariota and OZ. So expect in training camp, expect in preseason games, when your 2s and your 3s get a lot of work, that we're going to see a lot of Mariota to OZ. And we're going to get impressed with him right away because it's not like 2 people learning. They already know each other. They got to learn the system together. They got to learn the playbook together. But there's already that, intimate knowledge, intimate connection between them, having played together last year in Atlanta. So, I'm intrigued. I like it. I know I've joked about the Eagles taking a wide receiver in the first round at the 10th pick even. And I've joked to an extent. It's just because, Howie targets 2 things. He targets his interior lines and he targets wide receivers. That's his first round MO. And you got some good wide receivers there that might be there 10 or 12 if they trade back or whatever, to not be surprised about. I talk more about Howie drafting certain people just to make sure to cushion the blow. So when you're surprised, that you're not so surprised. But this pretty much, I mean, he's not as good as the Ohio State wide receiver or any of these other wide receivers in the draft. But I think this can rule out the 10th pick wide receiver. I normally wouldn't want to say draft a running back in the first round or draft offensively, for that matter, early in the draft. Yeah, I mean, I don't care offensively. It depends. I like offensive and defensive linemen when you're early in the first round. I like a guy that's going to make an immediate impact, in the trenches, blocking, being an anchor on the line, or being a defensive tackle for the next 10 years on the team. That's what I typically like. But yes, Bijan Robinson is there. Yeah, this is the question. Like, I won't be upset if Bijan Robinson is the pick at 10. I don't think it should be. I will not be upset if it is. I will be upset, however, if Jalen Carter is there at 10 and they take Bijan Robinson instead. I think that's the way it is. And I will also be upset if Jalen Carter, say, falls to like 7 or 8, and then the rumors come out after the draft that Howie tried to move up but wouldn't part with enough. If there's an opportunity to get Jalen Carter, you have to do it. Yeah, and Will Anderson, I don't think the Eagles will be willing to spend what it takes to move up to get him, because it is going to take a lot to move up and get Will Anderson. You're going to have to move up to 3, 4, which is that's a steep price. That's a very steep price, to move up that far. Robinson. But the thing with Bijan Robinson is, now Bijan Robinson, in my mind, and I'm no draft expert. I don't claim to be one. I don't even want to be considered that. I don't. But Bijan Robinson will probably, in my mind, go somewhere between 16, 18, maybe 20. I think the Cowboys are the main threat to get him. They're drafted, I think, at 22. Maybe you see the Cowboys move up to like that 18 range, especially if the Eagles trade back to 19, which is the rumor that there's been talk between Howie and Tampa to flip 10 and 19 for whatever assets and stuff. The Cowboys want Bijan Robinson, so they're going to try to get him. And I don't want to see him go there. But the thing with Bijan on the Eagles, the argument to be made to have him is you just committed 5 years, $255 million to Jalen Hurts. You want to protect him as much as you can. You want to extend that longevity of his career as long as you can. Going out and getting a workhorse, an elite running back people that say that just pure talent, that this kid is one of the 2 or 3 best prospects in this draft. You get him, you pair him next to Jalen Hurts, and then maybe you don't have to rush Jalen Hurts 18 times a game. Maybe you don't have to, do that. So that's that. I mean, and again, you're also just going to continue to improve your offense, and you know, if you can't stop anybody, at least you can outscore everybody. But exact Carter or Anderson over Robinson if they're there. The only question is if they're not there and you can't move up, do you take Bijan at 10? You take the best of player available at 10, or do you trade back? And I think there, because of the way this draft seems to be shaking up, people that we didn't think that were going to be there at 10, those 2 elite cornerbacks might be there. You might have the Ohio State wide receiver, Njoku or whatever, there at 10. You might have that defensive lineman, that edge rusher from Iowa or whatever, Van Ness or whatever his name is. He might be there. I don't think this OZ Zaccheaus wide receiver signing changes what their plans were here in the first round of the draft. I really truly think that this is somebody to push Quez Watkins, somebody to push Quez Watkins back to 4. Carter and Anderson. Anderson will definitely not be there until 10. I still think there's a slight chance he falls to 10. The Bears at 9, they might go. Raiders, the Raiders don't want him. They've already said that they've taken him off their board. Detroit, maybe. I know my man Jason, who lives in Detroit, is a big Lions fan. He wants him there in Detroit, but he doesn't think they'll go for him. So there's options there. I would be okay moving up, spending very little in future assets. If you got to move up to 7 to get him, you do it. I'm not trading, quite frankly. I know Will Anderson's pretty damn elite, but you probably got to move up to 3 or 4 to get him, and you're talking about a future first-round pick to do that. So I don't know if I'm going that far. We got 12 picks next year. If I got to use one of next year's second-round picks, because we got 2 of them, a couple of the fifth-round picks, whatever it may take, all right, I'm game for that. But I'm not doing much more with that. And if you do move up, then you probably take 30. You trade back, collect some more mid-round picks. But it goes back to if you haven't watched any of the shows this week, RW Swope, I had Brendan Deeg on the show 2 days ago, I believe. It's on the YouTube page here for Philadelphia Sports Network. You can check it out. I even cropped out just the interview section as a separate video. And he brought up an interesting point. And the point was, the Eagles are in a win now mode. The Eagles are going to be in at least the championship game for the next foreseeable future, which means they're going to be picking 28 to 30 in that range for the foreseeable future. Having a top 10 pick right now like they do, having the opportunity very cheaply to maybe move that 10th pick up to 7 and having the assets to do that, they're not going to have the opportunity. When you're drafting in the top 7, 10, you have the chance to get a blue chip elite prospect like Jalen Carter or even Will Anderson. You have to capitalize on that moment. Someone, even though, say, hypothetically speaking, Bijan or Njoku will make your offense better for the next 2 to 3 years, going and getting a guy that's going to be able to be an anchor on your defense, for the next 10 years and just be an elite, all-pro level type player on defense for the next 10 years, those opportunities don't come around often. And when he said that, and that was 2 days ago, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show with me and Zach Chavella, and I'm talking about it again today because I can't get that thought on my head, where I was all for going super crazy, all in, get Bijan, get a wide receiver, go get everybody, just go all in. I kind of feel like the Eagles have an opportunity to get Jalen Carter. They need to do it. Because next year in the draft, we'll be drafting late in the first round and late in the second round. The Eagles defense needs to stop just depending on pass rush and putting pressure on the quarterback and sacks. Yes, you want that. It's great. They do. Well, see, the thing is, the Eagles didn't blitz a lot last year. They're going to blitz even less this year. They may have led the league in sacks and had that record number of sacks, but they weren't a blitz-happy team. They got their pressure from their front 4. And, you still have work to do on this defense. You were able to keep Bradbury and Slay. You've got one of the best duos at quarterback, but you still have a hole at safety. Linebacker, I think, will work itself out, but you still got that safety situation, and that's where the Buda Baker conversation. I see people think, Just to forewarn everyone, you do not need to trade a first round pick to get Buda Baker. I've seen a lot of people coming into my mentions on Twitter saying Buda Baker for like the 10th pick or the 30th pick, and somebody said the 30th and Quez Watkins. Someone just said 10 for Buda Baker. Hell no, it ain't gonna take that, guys. Buda Baker is going to cost you a 3rd round pick, maybe even a 4th. You might be able to get him for like a 3rd and a 5th, or a 4th and a 5th, because he wants out. He wants to come here, and he's due like $35 million over the next 2 years. So you're going to have to extend him, restructure him, because you're not going to pay him that kind of money in a short 2-year window. So it's not going to cost a lot to trade for Buda Baker. But you are going to have to find the money for him. So that's where that comes into play. I love all these comments coming in, RW Swope. I think Deebo Samuel nailed it when he said the Eagles' D-line and the front 4 Eagles are what makes the secondary. I mean, I get that. So there's 2 ends of that philosophy. It's, does the defensive line make the secondary better and Pro Bowlers? Or does the secondary make the defensive line better? I think it goes both ways there. I talked about this last year about the Eagles' offensive line. Does the Eagles' offensive line make Jalen Hurts better, or does Jalen Hurts make the offensive line better? I think they go hand in hand with that there. When the D-line Reddick aren't getting pressure on the quarterback, you see how flawed and weak the secondary and line. Well, the linebackers, they're always question marks here in Philly. I don't think you can question the secondary last year, RW. I don't. The secondary of the Eagles was one of the best in the league. Slay. He had a few rough moments later in the season. Bradbury, everybody's anti-Bradbury just because of one holding penalty. Just happened to be at the worst absolute moment there was. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson led the league in interceptions. He only played 12 games. So I think the secondary is better than you're giving him credit for. But expect an even more passive, like back off, like non-aggressive defense next year with Sean Desai. Now that Jonathan Gannon's gone, if everybody thought that Jonathan Gannon didn't blitz a lot, just wait till Sean Desai. He had one of the lowest blitz rates in the NFL. So that's going to be that. They need to address the secondary and linebackers and get guys. Look, I was just saying it a few minutes ago. I mean, if Jalen Carter's there, and if, Will Anderson, you can't make any trade-ups, and say Gonzalez, there's 2 cornerbacks. You had Gonzalez and you have the other guy. If they're there sitting there at 10, it's gonna be very hard for the Eagles to say, even though they just gave a lot of money to cornerbacks, and and they got Greedy Williams in here and stuff like that. It'll be very hard to pass on a blue chip cornerback that 2 weeks ago was a top 10 prospect, now falls to 10. It's going to be hard. And Slay and Bradbury are both north of 30. Avonte Maddox never stays healthy in a season. Getting a cornerback there at 10 might be a strong possibility. It's just, if Bijan Robinson is sitting there and Christian Gonzalez is sitting there, try to sell the fan base Bijan going to Dallas, and you just got a cornerback in the first round instead. Like, try to sell that to the fan base. The fan base wants the fun, the excitement, and the Bijan is there. And look, the defense managed to survive last year. They're going to take a step back on the set. They're not going to have 70 sacks again next year. It's just almost impossible. I just don't know. Honestly, I had my mind set and wrapped around one philosophy. I just don't. We're 7 days from the draft, and I just have no idea how it's going to play out. But anyway, Olamide Zaccheaus. I Google searched the phonetic spelling of his name, and then I forget what I wrote. He is your new Eagles wide. In my mind, he slots in as wide receiver 3. Quez Watkins slides to 4. All they are is a front 4 D-line, rush the passer, sack the team. Outside, I get it. I get it, guy. I get it. And I know there's a lot of frustration about this defense last year. I do, and I understand. I get it. But they still made the Super Bowl. They still were I think they were ranked 4th or 3rd in overall team defense last year. So as much as we crushed them because we didn't like their sack percentage or whatever, they still were one of the top 5 defenses overall in football last year. A lot of that is because of the sacks and the pressure the front 4 was able to get. But you can't just say that you can't take that out of the equation. They still did a great job. They did not get pressure in the Super Bowl. I get that. They got picked apart in that Super Bowl on all fronts. I mean, you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, 2 of the best in the league ever. One of the best coaches of all time. One of the best. Patrick Mahomes is already probably in my top 5 or 6 quarterbacks of all time. So them not being able to get pressure on him Was that a product of the fact that you're going up against two legends in the Super Bowl and you have a young team that's never been in the Super Bowl? Or was it that they sucked? I think they look. I think I've been very critical of defense. I was fired Jim Schwartz. I was fired Jonathan Gannon through and through. But I realized you kind of just got to give them a little bit of leeway. They still were a top 5 defense. They still managed to get this team and help this team get to the Super Bowl. It wasn't all Jalen Hurts. The defense was there too. So I think you're being a little harsh on the defense there with those comments. But I get what you're saying because we felt that all last year. And when you go into the Super Bowl and that's the performance, Jonathan Gannon came up small. And I said it on some of the shows leading up to the Super Bowl. Was Jonathan Gannon going to be distracted with all the coaching opportunities that were being presented? I think he was being interviewed in Arizona during Super Bowl week for their head coaching job. Maybe there was some distractions there. I don't know. But look, we can talk more defense if you want. I'm going to move on a little bit for now and get some thoughts out on some Sixers and some Phillies things. But if anybody in the comments wants to talk more Eagles, talk OZ. That's what we're calling him until I figure out his name. Olamide Zaccheaus. That's how I think it's said. If anybody wants to talk about that, that's fine. We can continue talking that. But I do want to bring up some Sixers, and I do want to spend some time on the Phillies as well. So if you're watching this show and you have any thoughts on the Phillies taking 2 or 3 over the White Sox or the Sixers Game 3 predictions, drop them in the comments section, and we'll get to them as well. So Phillies take 2 or 3 over the Chicago White Sox. And we haven't spent much time this week on the Phillies. Let's see here. We got another Eagles. So I'm sure the 2 weeks leading up to the game, the Chiefs O-line defended, practicing nonstop against a pass rush. And so absolutely. And you had a coaching staff led by Andy Reid that is one of the greatest of all time. So they know how to do that, going up against a very young, inexperienced staff in the Eagles. So, yeah, I agree with you on all that. I do. I really do. It's just you can't take away from the fact that they still were a pretty solid defense overall. They just came up small in the biggest game of their lives. So Phillies, 2 or 3 over the White Sox. It wasn't pretty 2 out of 3. There was some really good and still some question marks. Olamide? It's Olamide? Not Olamide? Olamide Zaccheaus? That is, I do remember the Zaccheaus. I do. Zaccheaus. I did not see the Olamide part of it, though. Olamide Zaccheaus. Olamide Zaccheaus. Olamide Zaccheaus. Yeah. OZ. OZ works for me, Kyle. OZ. Oh, and Olamide Zaccheaus is also a St. Joe's Prep kid. So he's got some connection to the Philly area. St. Joe's Prep, part of that great group of prep schools in the Philadelphia area. There's no Devon Prep players in the NFL, but there's been quite a few St. Joe's Prep kids making the NFL. Obviously, Rich Gannon being the most famous. John Running's son, DeAndre Swift, is a St. Joe's Prep guy, and so is Olamide Zaccheaus. OZ. We're just going OZ. There's that as well. But anyway, Phillies 2 out of 3. So I want to start with the positive. First and foremost, the offense. I know they got shut out 3-0 in the one game in the doubleheader there, but the offense is still clicking in a really interesting way in my mind. He, as in Rob Thompson, has somewhat gotten out of his head and left the lineup pretty consistent over the last 3-4 games. And you're starting to see that help. Stott leadoff, Turner 2, Schwarber, Castellanos, Marsh in your 3-4-5 hole. JT still in the 6 hole with Bowman the 7 hole still confuses me. And then bouncing out the bottom with Cave, Pash, Harrison, whatever it may be. It looks like Sosa's got a back issue right now, and that's probably why. We're going to get to this for sure. Hell, you know what? Screw the offense. Let's just talk right away the bullpen. The bullpen is legit on fire right now. Look, they've gone 4 games now, the bullpen, without giving up a single run. The last time they gave up a run was when they had to put Josh Harrison in there to pitch again, 5 games ago. 4 games, 0 runs from this bullpen. Alvarado looks like finally been given the keys to the closer role, and rightfully so. I don't know what he's at now, but I was listening to the 9th inning on the ride home from work yesterday, and Fransky and whoever the guy is. Who is? I don't even know. Is it Stocker? I think Stocker's the guy in the booth with them on radio calls. Said something like going into yesterday's game, the last 27 outs that Jose Alvarado has recorded, had 22 of them had been strikeouts. Now, he didn't strike anybody out yesterday, so now it's probably 30 outs, 22 strikeouts. That's an insane number of a guy. That's 22 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is insane. Craig Kimbrell looks settling down into that 7/8th role. Sir Anthony had a good game. Soto, I think, has gone 6 straight outings without giving up a run. So Sir Anthony Dominguez can settle down. If Alvarado can be your closer, you've got a legit bullpen now. If you could just get your starters to go through 6 innings at least. And that's the problem. I mean, Taijuan Walker went 6 2/3 yesterday, I believe it was. So that was good. That was one of the longest outings from starters this year. It might have been the longest outing from starters this year. But constantly, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, these guys are going 5 innings, 4 innings. Matt Strom, you can't take anything away. This year, he's got 8 1/3 innings, 18 strikeouts. That's an insane number. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that before, like in recent memory. I mean, and it's not like he's doing it and it's all, boom or bust. He's just straight boom. He hasn't busted or blown up yet. He got the 1 home run when he shouldn't have been brought back out for a second inning. Marlins extra innings game, I think it was. 108 ERA for Alvarado. Absolutely. I think you've got, if you can get your pitch. See, the biggest positive of this team right now is the bullpen in the last 4 or 5 games. The biggest negative is still the pitching staff. If we can get this pitching staff some consistency, and I think help is on the way in the form of Ranger Suarez. I'll bring that up in a minute. But if you could get 6 innings from your starters and then have Kimbrell, Soto, Dominguez in the 7th, 8th inning role, and then Alvarado in the 9th, and have some confidence that they're going to be consistently strong in those roles, I mean, you're going to be okay. But it's still the pitching, the starting pitching. The bullpen, and what it does is it takes some of the pressure off of Connor Brogdon. He doesn't need to be used in high leverage situations. Andrew Bellatti's been able to have a few days off lately and not be used in 90% of the games. So you still have those 2 guys for your bullpen starts, like today, Matt Strom going for the Phillies, against Colorado here this evening. Like you be able to solidify these guys in their roles in the back end of the bullpen, get their confidence back. It was only 1 or 2 outings for Sir Anthony, so I still want to see a little bit more out of Sir Anthony. But Kimbrell has not been bad. I mean, for the most part, he's had a lot of 0-run innings. Not clean innings. He's given up some base runners. But Craig Kimbrell has proven that he's still got something left in the tank. Maybe not to be the closer, but to be that 7th, 8th inning guy, he's doing just fine. And what you do is, when you get to the 7th inning, you look at the lineup. You got Alvarado in the 9th. So then you look at the 7th, 8th inning and be like, all right, where am I using Kimbrell? Where am I using Soto? And where am I using Dominguez? Who needs to go today based off of the matchups? And I think if you have 3 guys for 2 innings, it's great. And then when your starters start to figure it out, hopefully they start to figure out the starters, then some of these guys, Nola and Wheeler, are guys that can go 7, 8 innings sometimes. And then if that's the case, then you have it even easier on this bullpen. But it's all coming back to those starting pitchers. You got Matt Strom going today. Yesterday, Taijuan Walker yesterday. Taijuan Walker had his best game so far. Only gave up 2 runs, 2 walks. Still 2 walks and 5 hits. It's 6 1/3. Still too much. He's gotten his ERA down to 3.8. He only struck out 3 guys. But Taijuan Walker looked better yesterday. The bullpen, 12 2/3 with. Let's knock on wood, first off, Kyle, because they're going to have a bullpen type day today because of Matt Strom going on the mound. Let's hope that continues today. But even if they give up, they're not going to go perfect forever. As long as they don't give up the big 1 run here or there, it's acceptable. It's when they give up the big innings that we want to avoid. Phillies hitting is so misleading. That's what I was kind of going to get into. Then we kind of switched to the bullpen instead. They have been better the last couple games with runners in scoring position. They have. And they've gotten some key hits in the last few games. Hence why they've won a few games. They're now 8-11. They were 5-10 not too long ago. They're 3-1 in their last 4. So that's good. Bijan with the offense, you win in the Super Bowl. I mean, we're making the Super Bowl with or without Bijan. Bijan adding to the offense might give you 2 Super Bowls, maybe. Their tops in hits and batting average in the majors. Yeah, look, we don't even. I saw it the other day, or maybe I heard it the other day, so I don't know the exact stat. Maybe Kyle, Mr. Statistician's got it. Quick pull up here. That the Phillies have I heard this a few days ago, so I think they've had 1 or 2 more since then. At the time, they had 15 home runs as a team. Again, this was 2 or 3 days ago. I was listening to the game on the ride home from work. 15 home runs, 12 of them were solo home runs, which means they're not coming up with the clutch hits when the guy's on base. And I get the frustration with that completely because I know I'm frustrated with it. But they're getting better with it. And as they get more consistent lineup and these guys know where they're going to be hitting in the lineup, I think it's going to improve. And it has been slowly improving. No, and just think about it. I'm sure you all saw the video of Bryce Harper, taking batting practice and Ranger Suarez throwing to him. Bryce Harper's going to be back sooner rather than later. I'm surprised. But once you slot Bryce Harper back in that lineup, you get Kyle Schwarber out of the 3-hole. You get, you go Stott, Turner, Harper 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden that lineup becomes so much deeper. You go Stott, Turner, Harper. You move Schwarber to 4. You move Casty to 5. You move Bohm to 6. JT to 7. Now all of a sudden you've got such a deeper lineup, and it continues to get better. And I get it. I get your feelings here, RW. I do. But it's getting better. Look, and I'm Mr. Doom and Gloom, and I don't care how much better the offense gets. Excuse me. Allergies are killer, man. Allergies are killer when these temperatures are changing like this. The offense is getting better, but it doesn't matter. If we can't get something better out of Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, and I don't want to hear that Aaron Nola looked better his last outing. He didn't, in my mind. Zach Wheeler looked good for 2 innings, then the wheels completely fell off. Having a great bullpen and having a great offense or an average offense, it doesn't matter if you're starting pitching. Cannot get deep and consistent into games. We're spending a lot of money on Wheeler. Nola's coming up on a big contract extension. When Matt Strahm and Bailey Falter, look at the game Bailey Falter threw 2 days ago. When he gave up 3 runs in the first inning. Bailey Falter is supposed to be your number 5 starter on this team till Andrew Painter is ready. And he went out there, gave up 3 runs in the first inning. Oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. Then he goes out and gives up 1 more hit the rest of the game, ends up getting through 7 innings, only those 3 first inning runs. I mean, that's amazing. And Bailey Falter is supposed to be like a depth pitcher. Matt Strahm is supposed to be a reliever. He's getting his 4th start already, Matt Strahm. He was brought in here to be a reliever. And he's getting his 4th start. And he got roughed up in his last outing. But before that, his first 2 outings were really solid 5-inning games. 4 or 5 innings, whatever it was. But whether they hit or not doesn't matter if they're always behind 5-0, 4-0. If they get a 5-run lead like they did it with Zach Wheeler the other day, and then he comes out and gives up 4 runs in the 3rd inning. We need more from the top-end guys because you're not going to continually get this type of performances from Matt Strahm and Bailey Falter. And until Ranger Suarez is back, that's going to be a problem. We've already got Chris Sanchez. He's come up and starting a game. Chris Sanchez, Bailey Falter, Matt Strahm should all be that 5th/6th pitcher in the rotation. Now you're going to have a week where you have Matt Strahm, Bailey Falter, and Chris Sanchez all starting. That's not what a World Series contending team has. Now, it comes down to when Ranger Suarez comes back, it makes things a little bit easier. Matt Strahm can go back to the pen. Bailey Falter, Sanchez can piggyback that 5th spot, whatever it may be. But if you can't get something out of Nola and Wheeler, and expecting a lot out of Ranger Suarez, he's going to have, again, so much pressure on him when he comes back into the starting lineup rotation because he's going to need to be instant. He had no spring training, really. He's going to come up here with 1 or 2 rehab starts and just be forced right into it. So there's going to be a lot of pressure there as well. They're not getting hits with runners in scoring position. At least learn to manufacture. Well, they're manufacturing run. They're getting lots of singles and doubles. Just not enough of them at the right spot. Bohm needs to be third right now with Harper out. I agree with you on this. The fact that he keeps someone saying, well, he's like the second leadoff hitter because, you get to 6, whatever, then Bohm takes over 7, whatever. Now, I agree. Bohm should be in the 3 hole right now, or if not the 3 hole, the 5 hole. I know Marsh is hitting the ball really well and that he's been moved up to the 5-6 spot in the lineup. I loved Marsh in the 9 hole as like a turn the lineup over for Stott and Turner. When Harper comes back, I would put Marsh in 9 as well, still there. The Sosa injury kind of is concerning that he's been out for 3-4 games now. Bohm 4th? I don't know. I would probably keep Castellanos or Schwarber in the 4 hole. Have Castellanos 5, Bohm 6, Bohm 5, Castellanos 6, something like that. All right, there we go. So there's my final answer. 14 of 18 home runs have been solo shots. That means they're not coming up with the clutch hits. They're just not. And it's just one of many stats that prove that they're not coming up with the clutch hits when runners are on base. 18 home runs is great. Through, what do we have, 18 games now? 19 games? So they're averaging about a home run a game right now. But 14 of them are solo shots. You're not going to win games like that. The whole thought process was Kyle Schwarber was going to have so many more RBIs this year. Was he like 40-some home run, 48 home runs and like 95 RBIs last year? Because no one was ever on base for him. Well, the point was that with Turner and Stott ahead of him, he's going to get more guys on base, and he still has 4 home runs, but only 9 RBIs because they're all solo shots most of the time. So that's a problem. But again, none of it matters in my mind. None of it. If you cannot get something out of Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, you need more. You need more out of those 2 guys. There's nothing. The hits are coming. The hits are getting better. The offense is getting better. The bullpen is on fire. Okay, so all 4 of them are solo home runs. No surprise. Is that I can't even see if that's a thumbs up or a middle finger in the comment there, Drew. I can't tell. I can't put it up there, but thanks for checking in, Drew. If it's a thumbs up, great. Thumbs up to you. If it's a middle finger, well, back at you. I don't know. I can't tell what that is on there. But yeah, like you look at today, the Phillies today, they start a 4-game series with the Rockies. And they got Matt Strahm going up against some dude named Ryan Feltner. Ryan Feltner stinks, just so you know. He has given up a crap ton of runs and 26 base runners in 13 innings, okay? But you got Matt Strahm going on the mound for us. So what Matt Strahm are we going to get today? The Rockies are terrible. Their offense is terrible. Matt Strahm, in his 3 starts, had 4 innings of no runs, 1 hit. 5 innings, no runs, 4 hits. And then his last outing, 2 2/3, 3 runs. He walked 3 guys, gave up a couple hits in that game. That was the big blowout against Cincinnati, 13-0. What are we going to get from Matt Strahm tonight? You're going up against a meager Rockies team. They've got 5 wins on the year. They make the Phillies look like World Series contenders record-wise. With a pitcher going on the mound that can't get anybody out. We're basically going to get no hit tonight. Is basically what the law of averages say then. And Matt Strahm's going to get blown up tonight. But no, we need Matt Strahm. It's a shame because of what hole we've been dug in because of Nola and Wheeler and the offense early on. But we need Matt Strahm to go out tonight and pitch 4 or 5 shutout innings. 4 or 5 innings, 1-run ball. That is what we need. And we need this offense to be, how do I say this? Conservatively aggressive. This guy gives up a lot of base runners that we're pitching up against tonight. This White Sox pitcher again, or Rockies pitcher, Ryan Feltner, he's 11 walks in 13 innings, but also 15 hits. So you want to go up to the plate with this guy with the mindset, look for certain pitches and be aggressive on those pitches, but be conservative as well because he will get wild and walk a lot of guys. That's kind of, I know it's like an oxymoron, be conservatively aggressive, passively aggressive, but that's what you need. This guy's going to make a lot of mistakes, but he's also going to get wild. And you need to continue. You need to set the tone from the series. We're getting a little momentum, winning 2 out of 3 in White Sox, winning 3 of our last 4 games. We're getting a little momentum. And after this 4-game Rocky series, you've got a tough schedule on the horizon. You got the Dodgers, you got the Mariners, you got a whole bunch of really good games. You need to take 3 out of 4 here in this series, because after the series, the sledding is going to be tough for this team. So it's very important. We have too many throwers and not enough pitchers. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know what we have. That's the problem. I don't know what we have, because I don't know what's wrong with Wheeler and Nola at this point. Wheeler's velocity hasn't been the same. He hasn't been able to get into a groove. Nola his pitches look flat as can be. Nola was never a dominant pitcher velocity-wise. Although last year, there were points last year where his velocity picked up a little bit more than I'd ever seen before. But he's back in his 91, 92 range, which is fine if his pitches are getting movement, but he's not moving. And he looks unenthusiastic out there. And he was never an emotional guy, but he looks like he's going through the motion. He didn't get paid, so he's going through the motion. And I still think that plays some role into what's going on with Aaron Nola. I do. I think that contract is an issue. High scoring, low scoring games. Man, the Phillies truly are bipolar. They are. They'll score 15 runs and then get shut out. They really will. That really is what it is. I think we're gonna take a pause there. So anyway, the Phillies tonight, they're favorite. The Rockies stink. They should win tonight. I'm hoping for a Matt Strahm 4 to 5 solid innings, so we don't blow the bullpen out. That would be my goal. You've got the Rockies for 4, like I said, followed by Seattle, Houston, and LA. You've got Nola going on Friday, Chris Sanchez on Saturday, and Zach Wheeler on Sunday. Freeland, Davis, Urena, they're their pitchers for the Rockies. We should have no problems with the Rockies. We're at home. The weather's going to be fairly nice this weekend. Hopefully they're able to take care of business and get the job done this week. Take 3 out of 4. I hope that's what it is. I would love to see a sweep. I know 4-game sweeps are tough, but I would love to see Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler get their heads right against this bad Rockies team, and then the rest of the team pick them up during the Strong and Sanchez starts. That would be ideal for me. All right, but I want to spend a few minutes. If the comments coming in, you want to talk Eagles, great. I'll do it still. If you want to talk Phillies still, I'll bring up your comments. But I do want to bring up a few minutes and talk. We do have Sixers, Brooklyn Nets, Game 3 tonight. The Sixers are dominating this series so far. They've won games 2 different ways so far. They completely blew the roof off the arena and smoked the Nets in Game 1 with that 121-101 win. And then Game 2, it was a knockdown, drag-out battle that they were still able to win by 14. But old school 90s, bang 'em, rough and tough on basketball game, people getting banged onto the floor, people doing whatever. You had different people step up. You had Harden's big game in Game 1. You had Tyrese Maxey go off in Game 2. You have the Tobias Harris being hot both games. Joel Embiid doing his thing. I heard something the other day, yesterday I think it was, and it got me thinking that Brooklyn shot their shot in Game 2. If they were going to win a game in this series, they put all their eggs in the baskets in Game 2. They did. They pushed hard. They banged around. They cried to the referees after Game 1. They got the refs in their ear in Game 2. I'm not blaming the refs. I'm not. They tacked as physically as they could to Joel Embiid. They did everything they wanted to do in Game 2, and it still wasn't enough. And while I still truly believe in they're playing with house money and they're a really well-coached team, realistically speaking, they have 0 chance to win this series. They have, I would say, a less than 5% chance of even winning one game in this series. Now, I am surprised that they're only a 4.5-point favorite, the Sixers, tonight. I know it's a road game now, so their home team advantage gives you something, but they were 8.5-point favorites in Game 1, 10-point favorites in Game 2. Covered the spread both times. I'm surprised it's not more of an 8-point spread in Game 3 on the road, because I think the Brooklyn Nets put all their eggs in Game 2. It didn't work out, and now they realize, guys, We might try to win one of these games. We might luck into winning one of these games to save face, the gentleman's sweep thing, which I hate that term. I hate that phrase. Gentleman's sweep. Like you let them win one so they feel better about themselves. It makes no sense to me. It really does. But I don't think that I think they realize that there's nothing left, that they're done, that they've tapped out, they've spent, they're ready for the offseason. They played with house money. They put up a good fight. They're still going to come out tonight and play with some self-respect. But I think they realize the talent difference between the Sixers and the Nets is going to be too much for them to overcome. And I think while they're going to come out tonight with some self-respect and play hard, they've already got one foot out the door. And I think they realize that now. The Barclays Center will be jumping as much as it can be in Brooklyn. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised to see some Sixers fans littered throughout that crowd there. And I just expect more of it. It looks like Jalen McDaniels is not going to play. He's doubtful with a non-COVID illness. We'll see later today if that changes. But him coming off the bench and not being there actually might be a slight issue. His athleticism and his ability to play and run the field and keep up with these athletic Brooklyn Nets players has shown in this series. So that is good. That is interesting. But, not having him there is going to be an issue tonight. I just want to see my main goal. So game 2, my main goal was to see Tyrese Maxey step up. And he did with flying colors. I said somebody else had to step up. I expected. So my predictions for game 2 were I wanted to see an 18-point victory. They won by 14. Pretty close on that. I wanted to see them keep Mikal Bridges under 25 points. They kept him to 21 points. I wanted to see 25 plus from Tyrese Maxey. I think he scored 33. I forget what my fourth prediction was. I didn't hit my fourth prediction. But I pretty much called it. How game 2 had to play out. Well, game 3, I have a different philosophy. So we were talking yesterday with Zach Chavala from Philadelphia Sports Network on the show. When we talked Sixers, I brought up the fact that they were really playing physical on Joel Embiid, banging him tough, elbows in the back, making sure they knock him down to the ground. And it happened so much, and they kept trying to force the ball to Joel. Joel has to have the ball. I get that, blah, blah, blah. But they were trying so hard to force the ball to Joel that he was taking unnecessary abuse from the doubles and triple teams. And I want to see somebody else step up on offense. We can't get him the ball. Let's stop. Let's. A lot of his he had 8 turnovers. A lot of them were because he was being forced the ball in moments where there was nothing for him to do. So I need to see Maxey. I need to see Harden. I need to see Tobias doing what they need to do to get him the ball with some potential space. Get it to him before the double team gets there. Get it to him when he's got it open. And if he's not open, don't force it. The sloppy turnovers just can't happen. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the turnover numbers. Let me pull up the box score from the 2 games here real quick. I want to say game 2's turnover number was really high as a team. And this is my game 1 or game 3 first prediction or need of what to see. They had 19 turnovers in game 2. 8 from Embiid, 5 from Harden, and then 6 from the bench, spread out. Let me see what game 1 was. Let me see if it was similar or not. I'm guessing not. There was only 8 turnovers in game 1, and they won handily. So right there, prediction 1 for the game. 19 turnovers. I want to see it at 10 or less. And if they do that, they're winning this game 120 to 100 kind of range. They're going to blow out the Nets if they take care of business in the ball. So goal 1, not forcing the ball to Joel Embiid, which is creating turnovers, which is creating him to get the ball in bad spots, getting him banged around and hit and bruised and beat up. We need Joel Embiid healthy and ready for round 2 against Boston because it is round 2 against Boston. So limit the turnovers. Key 1, stat 1 that I want to see, 10 or less turnovers in game 3. Stat 2 that I want to see in game 3. I know I said after game 1 that I wanted to see less out of James Harden. But stat 2 that I want to see tonight. James Harden was 3 of 13 from the floor, 2 of 8 from 3 in game 2. Only scored 8 points. I don't care how many shots James Harden takes. I do not care how many points James Harden scores tonight, but I need to see a better shooting percentage. 3 of 13 is not going to do it. If you're going to take 13 shots, you better make 6 or 7 of them. If you're going to take 8 shots, you better make 4 or 5 of them. I need to see a more efficient James Harden shooting percentage up from game 2. If you do that, you take some of the pressure off some of the other guys. You can't expect about 20 points a game from Tobias Harris all playoff long. You got it twice. There's going to be a down moment. So I need point 1 for this game, turnovers 10 or less. Point 2, James Harden's shooting percentage. Whether it's taking less shots or getting better shots, the shooting percentage needs to go up. That's point 2. Point 3, I'm kind of torn on it. What I need to see. I mean, PJ Tucker, would I like him to knock down a few shots? Sure. But defensively, he's playing so well, I can't complain. I'm curious, if Jalen McDaniels played 22 minutes in the last game, I think he played 17 or 18 in game 1. Keep flipping. I should have both box scores on separate tabs. I keep bouncing back and forth here. Jalen McDaniels at 17. So he's played almost 40 minutes between the 2 games. Where are those 20 minutes going to go, on this bench? I don't want to see Shake Milton or Montrezl Harrell or whatnot. Like, I really think that the best course of action is just give more minutes to the guys you're already using. Whether it's George Niang, whether it's Melton. You'll probably see some Daniel House Jr. tonight, but I don't need 20 minutes of Daniel House. You know what I would like to see? If Jalen McDaniels is not out there, I would like to see more Paul Reed. Put him in that 4 spot. He's athletic. He can guard the 4. He can guard that. Put him out there with Joel Embiid. I want to see Paul Reed with Joel Embiid and James Harden on the floor. That would be interesting. At least he moves. Cutting down the turnovers, going back to that, and saying Paul Reed moves, made me think, the problem, it reared its ugly head in game 2. It's the stagnant of the players when it's on offense. When one guy's got it, everybody stands around. Nobody's cutting. Nobody's slashing. Nobody's moving. If you're not doing the pick and roll, Harden and Embiid, nobody's setting picks or anything like that. It's one thing we miss with Matisse Thybulle is at least he was a constant ball of motion on the court. And it's just that's not what Tucker is. That's not what Harris is. Maxey is a cutter, but when he's got the ball in his hands to an extent. So Jalen McDaniels brings a little bit of that movement and energy to the offense. He's not a great offensive player, but he brings the energy to the offense. Paul Reed has that ability too. He's a constant ball of motion. I would really be intrigued tonight to see Paul Reed on the floor in the 4 hole or in the 4 roll, the 4 spot, whatever it may be. That's my number 3. Seeing him get more than his 8 to 12 backup center minutes. Get him 5 minutes in the backup 4 roll. Just to see what you got there. I think it's intriguing. I think it's something that can work. I think it's something that would work. I would really be intrigued to see Harden, Reed, and Embiid on the court at the same time. Because you got your 2 offensive juggernauts there. He can cut nonstop. Joel will find him open. James Harden's already found him wide open for dunks a few times. I'd be really intrigued with Paul Reed on the floor with 2 superstars. Because right now you only see him with James Harden on the court. Because Doc Rivers still runs the 4 bench guys with a starter and still stunned on that. Will the Sixers win game 3 tonight? 4.5 point favorites. Let me pull this up one more time here. Let me see this thing. So it's 4.5 point favorite. 209. They've dropped the over-under to 209 for the game. Sixers are minus 205 on the money line. So they're saying the Sixers are going to win. The bets say the Sixers win, but it's a close game, another low-scoring game. Honestly, I don't think it's a low-scoring game. I don't think it's a close game. I think it's more like game 1 than game 2. And I'll say it again. I don't think it'll be 25. I'm going to stretch it a little bit this time. Keeping Mikal Bridges in game 3. I'll say under 28 points. That's important. So, keys to victory tonight for the Sixers. 10 or fewer turnovers. James Harden, higher shooting percentage. Paul Reed, 5 minutes at least, filling in for Jalen McDaniels. I want to see him on the floor running in that 4. And 4, keeping Mikal Bridges under 28 points. Those 4 things happen, you win this game by 20. 3 of the 4 happen, it's another close game. 2 out of the 4 happen, we still probably win the game. I'm that confident that the Sixers, it's no longer hashtag Sixers in 5. It's Sixers in 4. It really is. So I see the Sixers winning. I do. I think it's game over. Um, done, set, match point. I think the Phillies win. I think we go 2 for 2 in Philly tonight. I don't know if the Union are playing. Flyers season's over, so they're not going to play. I don't think there's a Union game to my knowledge, but I think I'm going to take tonight's one of those nights that to take one of the Philly parlays. Go bet the Phillies money line and the Sixers money line, parlay it together, get probably plus something. I don't think I can get my DraftKings account up fast enough to find out what it would be. I'm going to try actually, real fast. Bear with me. I'm not even going to log in because I don't need to log in. I'm not going to place the bet right here on the screen. But let's just say Major League Baseball, Phillies money line, NBA playoffs, Sixers money line, parlay the two together. Philly sweep tonight. It's plus 118. I like it. I think a plus 118. I actually have a free bet sitting in there somewhere. I don't think it's big enough actually for something like that. That parlay plus 118 that the Sixers and Phillies both win tonight. I think that's worth a tenner or a 20er. Why not? Get better, slightly better than double your money. I like it. I think there's a strong chance that tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. when we're live right here on Philadelphia Sports Network, that we will be talking about Phillies victory, Sixers victory, and whatever other Eagles news there is. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank you, RW Swope. I haven't seen you before on the shows commenting before. Special shout out to you since you're a new commenter. We're live every single day, 8:30 a.m. Whatever you want to put on the screen comment wise. There weren't many other people, so we got all your comments in RW. But I love it. I appreciate it. You like, you subscribe, you drop your comments. I greatly appreciate all the support. Another great week here so far, but we'll be back tomorrow. The week's not over. Football Friday might turn into Basketball Friday tomorrow. We'll see how the Sixers game goes tonight. But anyway, everybody have a great day. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I am Phil Stifle. You have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.